So by the time you're watching this was yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't know how time works.
Tomorrow. It'll be
but
up tomorrow,
I
Wednesday.
reviewed Sword Art Online Lost Song. It was okay. It's about the nicest. So it's Sword Art Online just can't seem to win when it comes to games, and it's
That's funny because it's a
functional.
game. It's an anime about a game.
It's an anime about a game.
I think it's pretty set up already. You know?
But the problem is it's in Elfam Online, which is that awful second story arc in the first season, which they do retcon and replace it with a really boring story. But it's all about flying. But the cool thing in that whole concept is you have a virtual reality helmet on and you think you're really flying. And I'm like, that would be awesome. Like we have some Oculus Rift and some PlayStation VR stuff that's coming out about walking and looking around the world.
we got a Miku
and-
concert. You know?
Yeah, it's that's it, and it's really
There you go.
cool. But in this game, you're just with a controller, and it's not the same. And so everything in the game works, and the multiplayer is fun. And that's about it.
It works.
Baby's first JRPG.
I think one of the biggest disappointments I've had just growing up is realizing that licensed games or games that are based on something that's not a game are frequently bad.
Yeah.
Even if they're based on something that's based on a game. Like it should, like Sword Art Online should make sense to be like a perfect game, but
Right.
if it was meant to be a game, it would have been a game instead of the manga anime. You know, like,
Yeah.
But like I remember just kind of having this weird misconception growing up and being like, oh, like Japan makes good video games. They have more video games there, and therefore, if they make a video game based on anime, it's going to be naturally will be a better game. And that's absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
Like that's why there's like a Cowboy Bebop like shoot 'em up, and then like a Evangelion pinball machine or whatever.
Yeah,
Like there's
I saw the pachinko. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
Evangelion
Yeah.
Pachinko. I was like, oh,
But, yeah, I mean, like,
what I wanted.
There's like a handful of Dragon Ball games that I played like growing up, and they're all pretty off. Like there's a handful of good ones, but there's also
there's
like
tons of new Dragon Ball games all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they've
the
gotten
fighter
it down to
brawlers.
kind of a science. But
Yeah,
like
right. I've reviewed quite a few One Piece games for IGN, and that always is a weird mix of, this has a huge following, it's super popular, but the game execution's so weird. I think
Yeah.
the highest I've ever given one of the One Piece games is like a 7 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. To be fair, Dot Hack does it okay. Like they have
Dot Hack
had
was
game.
fun.
Dot Dot Hack actually is pretty good. It's an offline MMO based on a MMO type. It's like Sword Art Online, but better.
Yeah, it's like where it actually works.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
it's
good
immersive
example
and
of something
fun.
that works. So I'm not
Yeah.
trying to hate on those games, but I think
yeah, no.
anything that's licensed property generally tends to be terrible unless it has Arkham somewhere in the title.
Yeah.
So.
fair assessment.
I
I mean,
know.
I'd love to see like American studios tackle anime properties. I think it'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
There was an Akira game that never saw the light of day.
Really?
I bought the original Oh, sorry. Pioneer dub of Akira. I love that dub, by the way. But I bought it on like VHS at an antique store, and I opened it up, and this piece of paper came out that was like, pre-order the upcoming Sega Genesis Akira game, and I did some research, and there are like 3 or 4 screenshots floating around of this, but it basically looks like Road Rash with Kaneda.
Right.
But like that never happened.
amazing.
That just disappeared. It evaporated.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a cool Sailor Moon mobile game in Japan.
Yeah.
yeah.
Never gonna come here probably.
I was
Wasn't
so
the Sailor Moon game out in Europe too recently?
Oh, but that was trash.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
What would a good Sailor Moon game be like?
I mean, it's so easy. You're just fighting crime. You're just fighting the
Yeah.
demons.
It would be like Turtles in Time, but with Sailor Scouts
That's-
going against the Negaverse.
The best
awesome.
answer, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a good old fashioned just beat 'em up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
Beat 'em up.
it's really a beat 'em up, and but instead of turtles, you've got Sailor Scouts beating up Negaverse monsters.
That's perfect. That's all you need.
Somebody make that, please.
everything I've ever wanted, actually. Let's make that happen.
Yes.
Yeah, at least we still have dating sims. I don't know. I mean,
There
that's
you
all I
go.
can ask for. Maybe one day.
I love visual novels and dating sims
Yeah, maybe
so much.
Hopefully we'll see better games out there for animes. But
For
until
the
then,
animes.
I mean,
all
at least
the
like the
animes.
Naruto games and stuff are like they're fun, like they're different, but they're not super like story intensive like the same way you see as an RPG. But
Yeah.
one day,
One day.
maybe.
Yeah.